Hey, right, just waiting for TikTok to catch up, and I'm now live on both YouTube and TikTok. So, for those of you that don't know, I do have a TikTok channel, and that is Sci-Fi Fans, and that's sci.fi1. So, this week, I'm just going to jump in and start talking about movies and stuff. So, you can join me on both platforms. Videos on YouTube will be returning from Monday. I've got a couple of videos lined up, and I've got a notebook full of trivia to start getting through. So, yeah. So the main question is really this week is what on earth is happening with Disney? Now, I don't know if people are aware or been keeping up with what's going on with Disney, but they're in some serious financial brown stuff. And not only that, the stock or the investors and the stock market are getting a bit jittery. Then there's all this concern with Snow White, whether or not it's going to be made, but is it going to be a success? And chances are probably not, because the lead actress seems to have taken it onto herself to demand more stuff, more money. She doesn't like the outfit. She doesn't know much about Snow White, and it's all going a bit downhill from there. I will be checking a few more details as we go through with the live. So hi and welcome to everyone joining me on TikTok. Feel free, you can also join me on YouTube with this particular live. I'm trying something different. So yeah, we're talking about movies. Yeah, nice try. Happy birthday to you. More likes can attract viewers, well that's on TikTok. More likes will definitely attract more viewers on YouTube too. Right, let's have a look then. What will we? So it's she's got a bit of a funny name. It's not Rennie Zellweger or something. Let's just see what she's been going on about. Snow White 2024. So the actors and the writers are on strike. So it's Rachel Zegler is the actress in question. She's been a bit. She hasn't been particularly pleased, shall we say. Now, there are various clips of her on YouTube that are going around, and she's not coming across particularly well with all of this. Hi, Ollie. Hi, Ollie on TikTok. Now, she was seen standing on the picket line for the strikes, and she's basically making this strike all her. She wants more money if they're going to be streaming it online, which they obviously will. She's quoted as saying something like, I want to be paid for every single hour that this movie is streamed online if I have to wear that dress. Not the right thing to say, particularly when there are lesser known actors, actresses, and writers that are striking for better paying conditions. And here you go, you have a 22-year-old actress that's set up for life. I mean, she's worth about $2 million or £2 million, and yeah, I'd be set up for life with that sort of amount of money. And she wants to make this strike, particularly in this particular video, all about her. It's all me. And I think, what a selfish woman. 22 years old, set up for life, and wants more. And that kind of is the problem with Hollywood, is the fact that there's just so much greed. And there's the fear of greed. Now, I think it was not Norman Oz, Barry, the guy that done film on the BBC many years ago, when Alien 3 came out, he came out with a particular quote, which I think is still relevant by today's standards. And that is that Hollywood is run by fear and greed. Now, the fear is that there isn't going to be, or rather the greed is the money, and the fear when they make these films is that there isn't going to be the money on the returns. He said that way back in 1992. I really don't know what he'd be thinking today. Thank you for the live, BTF4. Thank you. I mean, look at Hollywood now and how the likelihood of having a massive box office hit has diminished massively. You don't have these multi-million, billion-dollar movies as much anymore, unless, of course, you've got Tom Cruise in the cast. There could be a connection there. But look at the box office. I mean, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, they reckon, has made a loss. Hi, Jay. West Side Story, which I believe this is what this woman was part of. Just shut the door. We don't need to hear it. Yeah, Rachel Zellweger. So she was in West Side Story, and I believe that didn't make a particularly great amount of money. The Disney Pixar films have flopped on a regular basis, and I think there's a general consensus there that they're just not making films that people want to watch. Yep. I've quit TikTok. You definitely right with that comment there. Hollywood doesn't seem to be making films that people are interested in. They're just more concerned about pushing this agenda and messaging, which is disappointing because the edge and the creativity of Hollywood has vanished. It's evaporated. And they've been on that slow decline really since the 90s, I feel. There was a time in the late 90s where every single film in the top 10 of movies was either a remake or a sequel. So originality is very hard to find. And they don't help themselves because no one's prepared to take that risk. And I think this is where the fear of not having that massive amount of money is coming from. But now we've spoken about Rachel Zegler. The other young lady who is of similar age is I'll get her name again. So Wednesday, forgot her name. Wednesday got Jenna Arteridge. Now she's totally different. She's come out and she's been very supportive of the people, the little people in Hollywood that are on strike for better money. She's put on her website various means on how the people that are really struggling for finances can actually go for help. They can seek like financial assistance. There's all these various schemes and things that she's promoting. Well, thank you, Kane Whitehall on YouTube. Sick of remakes. Me too. And this is kind of like why I started to write my own stories, because I looked at what Hollywood and the films that I was going to see, really fed up and bored with them, and thought, well, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. So I'm going to start creating my own universe, my own world, and that's why I started writing. And it's really, really nice of you to join me, Kane. Thank you very much. And the original side of Hollywood, we've lost the greats. There was the golden period really in the really after the war in the 1940s. Obviously, you had the silent films, which was an iconic period in Hollywood when it was starting off. But then, obviously, the 1940s and 1950s, we had those. That, for me, is the golden age of Hollywood. Then we had the 80s, which is when it kind of peaked. So you had the golden age where you could look at the actors, the actresses, and have full respect for them. They developed their craft. They did what they needed to do to be great actors and actresses. And then that gave us the creativity going forward. I mean, George Lucas got his inspiration for Star Wars from the old 1930s it will come to me, Flash Gordon films, and that was primarily what gave him the inspiration. So I do wonder where the ideas and the creators of the future are going to come from when all that they've been given essentially is just remakes and trash. I had high hopes at one stage with the streaming channels like Netflix and Amazon, because they seem to be funding new creators. But again, unfortunately, modern Hollywood as it is at the moment has made it turn into the political messaging all the time. And if you listen to the Critical Drinker on YouTube, I mean, the YouTubers that I follow, Critical Drinker, Nerdrotic, and Mr. H Reviews, I love the way that Nerdrotic will take the current situation in Hollywood, and the content that he puts together is really entertaining. But it's perfectly true as well, with the fact that there's this message in Hollywood that they have to push. It takes away the fun point. No one goes to the cinema to be lectured to. But I'm surprised everyone's listening to me lecture you guys about movies. But no, I mean, this is a two-way street. So you've got if I hit a nerve or you've got a comment, then do put it in the comment section, which would be really great. Again, just to reiterate, the videos are coming back to my YouTube channel very soon, Monday probably. And the Critical Drinker again has a very fun element, but it's backed up with facts and a very knowledgeable opinion. And then you've got Mr. H with his reviews, who, again, he's straight to the point, but he's not as negative. I find Nerdrotic is a great YouTuber, and I'd certainly like his 800 odd followers, but that's another story. I love his comedy, I love his humor, and I love the way that he presents his videos, but he generally seems negative when it comes to the future of Hollywood. And what I like about Mr. H is he's got a little bit of a less narrowed vision about certain films, and he'll quite often sit there and say that this is a great film, it's not my type, it's not my cup of tea. So I do feel that whereas Nerdrotic is great and he's got a very strong fan base and he is right in what he says, Mr. H isn't quite so negative, but again, he does highlight those issues that Hollywood has. So what I was going to do was just go through what's on at the cinema recently and what the ratings are and what people are talking about with those films as well. So let's just go here. We want the movie top 10 movies, don't we? Box office. James Gunn moving from Marvel to DC, I think, is going to be a bit of a double-edged sword, and this is possibly why the DCU is stuttering at the moment, because when he joined DC, he said that he was going to reboot the franchise and he was going to take it off in a new direction. So naturally enough, anybody that was invested in the DCU, as I was reasonably invested. I did prefer Marvel, but Marvel for me has gone off the boil completely. But with the DCU, I was looking forward to some of the films that were coming out, but then at the same time, you don't want to invest too much time into these characters if you know that the whole franchise is going to get rebooted. So I think that's where they kind of shot themselves in the foot. But then, are they totally rebooting the DCU? Because James Gunn, according to Gal Gadot, who plays Wonder Woman, she has said that James Gunn has told her that her Wonder Woman is going to feature in the future DCU. So there is a bit of confusion going on there. So it isn't really, in my opinion, it's not really a surprise that films like Shazam, Fury of the Gods flopped. Now, that might be because it was a weak story, or it might be that people checked out of the DCU because just because they don't want to get too invested in the back of their mind because it's going to be rebooted very shortly. But again, this comes down to what I was talking earlier about the problems with Hollywood is that fear of funds. Thank you, Casper McKay. Thank you. I can't pronounce your name, but your voice is amazing. Oh my God, it's so smooth. Thank you very much. Thank you. Casper McRae. Thank you about the bald. Okay, the bald. The reason why the camera's not on with YouTube is quite simply I don't want any feedback to come through on YouTube, and also I'll be looking at two different screens and I'm already doing that. Thank you for the invite, but no thank you. No, Hugh Jackman, got a few questions coming in on TikTok. Hugh Jackman is playing Wolverine. He's going to be playing Wolverine in Deadpool 3. And I'm really concerned for Deadpool 3 because I love the Deadpool franchise. However, Disney. They're going to, for me, they're going to dumb down the whole character of Deadpool. They're going to have, it won't be R-rated. They're going to kiddify it, a bit like what they did with Daredevil in She-Hulk. She-Hulk is another thing that we can talk about. Yeah, now I'm looking forward because I still don't think, and you can correct me in the comments, but I still don't think that Hugh Jackman is too old to play Wolverine. The character itself is pretty ageless. I know it does die eventually, and that was down to old age, but that's something else. Hugh Jackman himself is not at that age where you'd look at him and think, you can't play Wolverine. But yeah, I'm really sitting on the fence with Deadpool because I don't think Disney are going to give it the treatment that it deserves. Now, if they were going to say that they're going to make Deadpool 3, but put it on like Hulu, a bit like what they did with Prey, which is the prequel for Predator, I'd have a little bit more faith in that. Definitely, I think Hugh Jackman does have 10 to 15 years left, and that's coming from Casper McKay on TikTok. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting times. It is interesting times. The other thing also with the Hollywood strike going on for the writers and the actors is a lot of the studios aren't releasing their big budget films because they want to hold back. They don't want to run out of content, basically. Thank you, Mizzy Moo 360. But I like going live on my own. Cheers. Thank you for the invite. So, and it's the budgets. Indiana Jones, the budget for that, I think they reckon was $300 million. How? Since when did Indiana Jones become a $300 budgeted film? I'll just check that out. Jones 5. Can you hear me tapping? Sorry. Right, yeah, so Indiana Jones 5 budget costs around $300 million. Then you've got to add at least half of that for promotion. So you're looking at $450 million to maybe $600 million before it even makes a profit. Again, I wanted to go and see Indiana Jones, but then you find out all these details, and there's no secrets, is there? They leak. I can't Casper Mario. I can't see anyone else playing Wolverine either. So just being leapt upon by the cat. So I've got a black and white cat, and he's just joined me. Yeah, the leaks that you heard with Indiana Jones kind of put me off. They introduced time travel, and they killed off half of his family as well. Now, according to the Indiana Jones wiki, he had great-grandchildren. So how come by the time we get to Indiana Jones 5, and I know the grandchildren weren't seen on screen. This is something that I think might have been put into comics or something. But on Indiana Jones Wikipedia, they said he has great-grandchildren. So yeah, I don't like it when they mess around with their own continuity. This was a problem that we had with Miss Marvel in the fact that it messed up the continuity for the rest of the MCU. So where are we? Yeah, I will. You'll notice when I do these, I start off on one subject and I go off on a tangent and I come back. Oh, he's gorgeous. Phoenix Saga. I can do a review of the Phoenix Saga because I watched that the other day. Disappointing. Now, I'm disappointing not for the reasons that probably other people were disappointed with. The film start off quite well, and I liked a little bit of the space elements that they had in there. If you haven't seen Dark Phoenix, it's available on Disney. Yeah, I enjoyed it to a point. Now, what I think there should have been two of them. You should have had Dark Phoenix Part 1 and then Part 2. Reason being because the story of Dark Phoenix is quite an expansive story. There's a lot of detail in there that you need to get right. And if you do it in the one film that they did, you only get half that story. And I think that's the problem with what they did for the film. Had they split it into two, we could have had a phenomenally good Dark Phoenix saga. Now, what let it down for me was they rushed the story to give you Jean Grey as Phoenix, but then they didn't explore any of the feelings or the emotion that Jean Grey has when she becomes the Phoenix, which is something that they do in the comic book and obviously the cartoon. And I think there's about 5. I think, if memory serves me right, and please do leave a comment if I'm wrong, there is about 3 to 4 episodes of the Phoenix saga in the cartoon, the animated series, which is available on Disney. I'm not promoting Disney, by the way. It's just they've got everything, and they bought every franchise going. So there's 4 episodes of that, and then there's another 3 or 4 episodes for the Dark Phoenix. And I think if they'd have done something similar with the movies, then people would have been happier. They could have explained that story well and given you time to digest what's happening to Jean Grey, like they do in the cartoon. And that for me is why the Phoenix Saga it's a weak film. Sophie Turner, I think, who plays Jean Grey, I don't see what's wrong with her. I thought she done the best what she could with the script that she had. And I think this is sometimes a case where actors and actresses do get a lot of flack because they can only work with what they're given. And how many times do you see one actor or actress in one film and you think, how did they win Best Oscar, Best Actor? And then you see them in something else, and actually, they can act. A person that springs to mind is Dave Bautista. Obviously, plays Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy, and then you see him in something else like Blade Runner 2024, this Blade Runner sequel, and June. I'll talk about June in a second as well, because I think I'm going to get hate on this one, but I think June's overrated. Dave Bautista. You'd look at what he does with Drax in Guardians, and you'd think, yeah, he's an average actor. But then you see him something different. I mean, I thought he was really good in June. So a question coming in on TikTok by Casper McCoy. What is your favourite superhero and villain? I'm probably going to be really typical and corny, but I think my favourite superhero is Wolverine. I just love the anti-hero character that he is. He doesn't want to be the hero, but then he gets himself in situations where he needs to be the hero, and he can't refuse that urge. He knows what the right thing is to do. Villain is quite interesting because the DC, I do feel, have the best villains, and I mean, I think Lex Luthor is an incredibly clever villain and someone to have. Joker, I'm going to say, okay, so if I'm going to make the ideal film, then I'm going to have Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, and I know this is never going to happen because unfortunately we don't have Heath Ledger anymore, but Hugh Jackman's Wolverine going up against Heath Ledger's Joker, I think that would be really cool. And speaking of a combination that they'll never do, believe it or not, in the mid-1970s, that a Comic Con, one of the fans in the audience went to, I think it was a DC chat or an MCU or a Marvel chat. But anyway, he spoke to one of the two big companies, either Marvel or DC, and asked whether or not they would ever do a crossover with the two comics. And he was laughed out of that particular Comic Con. Nobody took him seriously. They thought it was a big joke and something that would never happen. However, fast forward a few years, and I think it was 1978. Yes, Jack Nicholson did play a really good Joker. And yeah, okay. That is a fair point, actually. You got me thinking on that one. So anyway, this guy got laughed out of Comic Con, and then fast forward a couple of years, Marvel and DC did actually get together, and they pitted Spider-Man against Superman, and it was available as I think it was available as a one-off comic. It was printed before I was born, ish, and yeah, so they did actually do it, and the concept behind the story, and I'm really trying to remember this one. I believe the concept behind the story was Lex Luthor had set up the mismatch between the two. Right, there goes one of the. Yeah. That's the problem with living here. There's our main road every evening. Some guy with or girl or person with a really fast car likes to just rev it up and go. He does. Yeah, it was a one-off, and I think it was actually in a bigger sized comic as well. So it wasn't in the standard issue size. It was like the next print up as a one-off, and the story was Lex Luthor somehow managed to get Superman and Spider-Man together for a fight. Now, could you imagine if they made that into a film? There would be various question marks as to who owns the copyright to what, particularly with both universes trying to fight out their own thing. And it's also reminded me something as well about Miss Marvel. Now, Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel was originally a DC character, and I don't know much about comic book history, so what I do know I've just picked up by doing these channels. But the main character, Captain Marvel, was actually a DC character, but because they didn't use the character for X amount of time, then Marvel managed to pick up the title of Captain Marvel. I'll get back to that question, Casper, in a second. So what happened was the character of Captain Marvel went through various changes and became the character Shazam. And Marvel somehow got the intellectual rights to Captain Marvel, and then they created the character Captain Marvel, which was originally a bloke. And Casper Mary's asking, do I consider Venom a villain? I think he is, to a degree. I think he is, because he's the symbiont that converts Spider-Man from being good to bad. But I think he's possibly also one of those anti-heroes. So what I find with comic books is they could have the most villainous of villains, and everyone starts rooting for them because they have a good backstory. There's a reason why they're as bad and nasty as what they are. And then they'll have a change of heart later on in the comic book series and become a goodie. Scarlet Witch being one of them. Scarlet Witch, she flits between being good and bad. So yeah, I mean, is Venom a villain? We'll ask the audience. Do you consider Venom to be the villain? Carnage, I think, is definitely a villain. I don't think there's much doubt about Carnage being a villain. So yeah, that's all right. Still didn't get to this week's box office. Right, movies. Let's just see what the movies are at the box office this week. Box office. Alien is moving on really well. Which I'm going to see. I was going to talk about the box office, and we're going to go. Happy birthday, Cheese Balls 180. Okay, thank you. So if you're a big fan, can you join me on YouTube maybe and subscribe? So Barbie's still at the box office. Weekend box office for August the 11th. That is definitely this weekend, isn't it? 18th. So this is last week's box office. So we'll probably get the results out on Monday or something. Barbie, is this UK or America? Weekend domestic. That looks like it's possibly America. The Voyage of the Dementor. This isn't the UK because the Voyage of the Dementor isn't available in the UK. Right. Let's put UK in there. UK. Yeah, what I find really frustrating is these studios decide who and what gets released, where and when. And you'll hear about a really good film like the Last Ride of the Dementor, I think it is getting really good reviews and stuff, but it hasn't got a release date here in the UK. So yeah, go away. Cookies. Can someone please explain to me cookies, right? Now, they say we value your privacy, but you don't mind if we just chuck all this tracking and spying software on the browser, do you, while you're on our website? Because we value your privacy. We want to know everything about you. So we can then sell it to a data company and make a fortune. Yeah, if you value my privacy, don't use tracking cookies. Simple. Then you wouldn't have to ask for permission to whether or not I want you to track me everywhere I go. Or is that too simple? Screen Daily, come on. So I've got UK, that's the preview. So where's the actual films that I'm looking forward to and I would like to go and see despite the misses? Yes, I did actually. I liked Morbius. So Casper McKay is asking about Morbius. I didn't find it too bad. I think it's one of those films that probably suited the small screen better than the big screen. But because I think on the small screen you don't notice the effects so much. You're a little bit more relaxed. Pacing could be a little bit off, but you kind of give it. You just put your brain in a box to one side and just enjoy the film. Yeah, I think it's really interesting now, and I kind of count how many doctors, as in Doctor Who actors, have appeared in Marvel, and so far we've got David Tennant, Christopher Eccleston, Matt Smith. So we haven't had Jodie Whittaker yet, and Peter Capaldi. Bit of interesting trivia for you. Did you know that Peter Capaldi is the only Oscar winner to ever portray the Doctor? Now, he won the Oscar for, I think it was Best Short Film before he became the Doctor. So if you ever get that on your pub quiz night, which Doctor Who actor has won an Oscar, it's Peter Capaldi. Of course, that might change by the time you get to go to your pub night and the Oscars are out. Okay. Oppenheimer, I was considering to go and see, but it's like 3 hours long. And I have heard that the British box office weekend they'll do. Yeah, I think we found it. Right. Yep, right, I've got the box office numbers. Yeah, I think, according to the reports and reviews that I've heard, that the first 2 hours are really good, and then they kind of drift a little bit too much. So, box office at the moment, we've got Barbie, and incidentally, my wife and daughter are going to go and see that next week. Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1. Now, the figures, this is just in the UK. So, Barbie has taken a phenomenal amount of money. So when Barbie opened, it took 41 million, and it has declined since. It's gone from 41 million, 31 million, 24 million, 17 million. Okay. And I'd be quite happy with just 1 million. Mission Impossible, that's come in. No, that's not. That's just the box office numbers, not the domestic, Wednesday, Tuesday, weekly. Let's do the weekly. No. You would have thought that getting the box office numbers for 1 week would be so difficult. However, I am struggling. Box office top 10. That's got to be it. Right. Here we go. I can give it to you now. The top films in the UK at the moment are obviously Barbie, because that's taken a phenomenal amount of money. All right, let me know what you think about it. I have heard that it's okay. How much? But this is the problem that we've got with James Gunn being in charge of the DCU, is how much of Blue Beetle is going to survive the reboot, if it is a reboot. So this week's top 10, this is up to 13th of August. Barbie at the top, Oppenheimer number 2, number 3, The Meg 2, The Trench, number 4, Gran Turismo, based on a true story, although I thought it was based on a video game. Haunted Mansion at number 5, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem at number 6. Interesting story about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I'll get to in a second. Jailer at number 7, Mission Impossible number 8, Elemental is at number 9, and at 10 we have Gaydar to the Catha continues, whatever. So yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now they're saying, there is a rumor, and I got this from Mr. H, so if I've got it wrong, he's got it wrong. I was watching a Mr. H video, and apparently the reports are that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is spawning a regeneration in toy sales to the tune of $1 billion. So although the film might just break even, the knock-on effect that it's had is with its merchandising, which is again something that Disney and that are missing out big time with the franchises that they own. What don't Disney own? If you look at what they've got the Alien Predator franchise, which, if done correctly, and Prey was done correctly, and I really hope that the Alien series and the Alien movie are done correctly, that could really ignite a big franchise. At one point, the Alien franchise for merchandise was second only to Star Wars. That's how big a franchise Alien was way back when. Oh, thank you. Thank you. You don't have to send gifts on TikTok. I'll never ask for gifts on TikTok because they cost you money. And the best way you can support the channel is to watch the videos and engage with the videos. That goes for TikTok and YouTube. Just, you don't have to. Thank you. That's kind of thrown me off now. So say you don't have to send me gifts or anything. Just watch the videos. Watch the videos, like, share, and subscribe, and grow the channel. That's the best way and cheapest way you can help me with the channels. Yeah, so Disney have got Aliens, Predator, which, if done correctly, would be a phenomenal success. Prey is getting a DVD release, apparently, and I will be buying a copy, because the problem with streaming services is they can modify the content. And an example of this is Netflix with Back to the Future. Now, in Back to the Future, there is quite an iconic scene, and it's there for a reason. It's there for a purpose. And you get Marty McFly. He's basically reading an adult magazine, and but he's changed the cover to, I think it's like a Sporting Direct. It's the total opposite of what the actual magazines that he's reading, and he gets caught out by the teacher, and he throws the adult magazine in the bin. Netflix actually changed this scene to, it was no longer an adult magazine, it was a regular comic, and a lot of fans picked up on this, and what they had to do was they had to put it back, because it was one of those scenes in the film that it's integral to the storytelling of the film. And this is the problem when you've got companies that are on streaming services. I mean, I've noticed that Doctor Who episodes have been edited after being broadcast live. Now, there's a certain scene with Clara Oswald, and yeah, it's been edited from when it was broadcast, and I know it's been edited because I went back and I watched it on Netflix, and this particular scene I noticed had changed after. It's not the same now. If you go on there, Casper McCary, because what is the point of bringing Baxter to Stockholm and not making a movie about it? Yeah, I think I kind of get your point there. Oh, right. So if I go back to your previous comment, can't wait for them to Ninja Turtle that has the fly Verizon of Baxter Stockholm. Right. Yeah. No. I got your point. So yeah, if you get the opportunity if you've got a favourite film and you want to watch it in its original format, how it was meant to be seen, grab it while you can in a physical copy, whether that be DVD, Blu-ray, but get yourself that copy. And there is various software out there that will allow you to convert it. I'm not advocating piracy; I would never do that. But you can have your DVDs converted into a file that will allow you, for your own personal use, not to make money, not to pirate, but for you to have your own personal use copy that you can watch on your hard drive, and do that. Because look at how many times George Lucas has meddled with Star Wars. Now, if you haven't got an original copy of the VHS, which I might have somewhere, the original copy of Star Wars, the introduction, it says Star Wars. There was no Episode 4, and that is how Star Wars was presented. And then when Empire Strikes Back came out, was that Episode 3? I think that's when they changed it to Episode 5, and so those numbers come. But when I saw Star Wars in the cinema in 1976, it was Star Wars. There was no New Hope. There was no Episode 3 or anything. And that's just an example of what they can do if you've got it online in a digital copy. You surrender your rights to watching the original version, and they can do it. And also, the other problem with streaming services is that they will decide at some point to take your favourite film or your favourite TV show off the service. So you might as well buy a digital copy of it. Now, there was a manga TV series which I absolutely love and adore, and that was Yu-Gi-Oh! If you haven't seen Yu-Gi-Oh!, you're going to struggle to find all 5 seasons of it. And it was a struggle to find the DVDs as well. I haven't got them. Now, what happened was I was able to watch the complete series of Yu-Gi-Oh! On Netflix, but only for a short period. By the way, I have the beta Verizon of Black and White unopened. Cool. That's cool. So yeah, we both, my wife and I, we sat there and we watched Superman. Cool. It's cool. So we was able to watch Yu-Gi-Oh! From start to finish, which was brilliant. But then what happened shortly afterwards, about 18 months later, Netflix dropped series 2 to series 5. So you couldn't watch the whole thing. I think Amazon picked it up for a while, but then for years, you only had the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh! On Netflix, and you kind of think, well, what's the point? What's the point in that? You know? Another thing, there's another series now. My little girl loves Lolly Rock, and there is, I think, a 3rd season of Lolly Rock, which we can't watch anywhere in the UK, but you can if you're abroad. Again, this is the problem with streaming services, because you don't have the whole picture, you don't have that whole content. Another series that she really likes is Royal. I don't pay too much attention. It's bad, isn't it? Really good dad, me. Real Academy. Now, again, you can get season 1 of Real Academy on Amazon, but you can't get season 2 onwards on Amazon in the UK or anywhere else. And that is so frustrating because it's something that my little girl really enjoys, but she can't watch it. Why? And this probably comes back round full circle to why the writers and actors are on strike, because streaming services at the moment have far too much power. So, yeah, I'm probably going to bring this stream to a conclusion. I think I've rambled on long enough now. All I can do is say thank you to everybody that is supporting me on my social media channels. If you want to support me more, then quite simply just watch the videos, leave a comment, and spread the word. And I'd really appreciate that. Videos come back to TikTok on a regular basis. I've done the next week's worth of content for you on TikTok. I will be going live again. I'm going to do this again. I'm enjoying this. I'm on YouTube and TikTok at the same time, and I'm enjoying that. Actually, while I'm here, I could tell you a really funny story about TikTok, which is just nuts. I've had to pull a video on TikTok for copyright reasons. And the stupid thing is, what I done was I posted a video that I made for YouTube and I posted it onto TikTok. Now, I've actually done this twice. The first video that I put up on TikTok was fine, no issues. The second video, and I think it's because I was talking about Snow White, the video got muted on TikTok for copyright reasons. Yeah, apparently me talking to the camera like I am now and hopefully talking to an audience, TikTok decided to copyright claim my voice on my video on my content, and I have not got a clue on how to appeal it. How stupid is that? So yeah, that did kind of make me think a little bit of what's the point of posting on TikTok, but there you go. Apparently someone can put a copyright claim on me talking about films with no music, nothing in the background, literally as I am now, just talking about movies. Yeah, they've put a copyright claim on it and muted the sound. So if anyone at TikTok is watching me on TikTok now, sort out your moderation, please. Your mods, get it right. So yeah, videos are coming back. I've been off. I got a new job after COVID. COVID hit us really badly. I was off work for 2 years, not because of COVID, not because of having COVID or whatever, but because of the complications that COVID was. So I really got into TikTok and my YouTube. Then I had to get a new job, which was nearly 18 months ago. And that's really why some of the content has dried up. But I'm back on track now. I'm back to writing the books. So if you're interested in science fiction books, go check me out on Amazon, W.A. Blinko. If you've got Amazon Kindle, you can download a copy of my book for free and come back in, tell me what you think. If it's great, if it's rubbish, if I should be a Hollywood writer. So yeah, work kind of took over, but I'm now a bit more determined. I've got my right head on for writing. Name a footballer for an edit. Okay then. Adi Akinfenwa. Adebayo Akinfenwa. There you go. That's your footballer there for you to do an edit on. So yeah, I've got a week's worth of videos ready for TikTok. I've got a couple of days worth of videos. Not a problem, mate. And I've got some videos coming up for YouTube. Also, from Monday, this is how much I've got back into focus on what I'm doing here. On Monday, I am going to be relaunching my podcast, and I am discussing Indiana Jones Part 3 and 4. So that's Crystal Skulls and The Last Crusade. They're on the podcast on Monday. So I hope everyone has a great weekend. For TikTok followers, thank you for the gifts. Really don't have to. Best way to support the channel is like, share, and subscribe. And for the 2 people watching me on YouTube, thank you very much. Kane Weatherall, thank you for staying for so long. And yeah, new videos are coming out from next week. So thank you so much for your time. And I will be back next week. Cheers.